welcome to my channel. Today I thought I'd read a short story from this book. It's Enid Blyton and the Secret of Skytop Hill and Other Stories. So I hope you enjoy. The Secret of Skytop Hill. "Where shall we go today?" said John. "It's jolly cold. We'd better go for a brisk walk." "Well, let's show Harry the old ruin," said Molly, "the one at the bottom of Skytop Hill." Their cousin Harry looked at Molly. "What a lovely name for a hill. And what's this old ruin? Let's go." "Come on then," said John, pulling on his coat. "Look, you can see Skytop Hill from here. It's that steep hill sticking up into the sky. It's so wild and steep that nobody ever goes there. The old ruin is near the bottom of it. It was once an inn." They set off, walking quickly in the frosty air. It took them nearly an hour to reach the old inn, which was indeed nothing but a ruin now. "People say that smugglers used to run this inn," said Molly, climbing over a tumble-down bit of wall. "It's terribly old. Don't you think it feels old?" It did. All the children thought it had a strange feeling. They wandered about in the ruined building, which had most of its roof off now, except for one piece, over what had been the big old kitchen. "Once we played keeping house here," said Molly. "We even made a fire in that old fireplace, and we kept bread and butter in the larder. It was fun." Let's light a fire today and keep ourselves warm," said Harry. "I'll go and get some dead twigs and bits of wood." But the fire wouldn't burn. John dragged out the twigs and put his head into the grate, looking up the chimney to see if anything had fallen down to block it. "Sometimes birds build their nests at the top and the bits fall down and stop up the chimney," he said. "But it's such an enormous old chimney," said Harry. "Surely no bird's nest could stop it up." "Well, there is something blocking it," said John. "A few bricks have fallen in or something. Wait, I'll poke a stick up and see if I can move them." He found a long stick outside and poked up the chimney. The bricks were lodged very loosely across the chimney, and they fell down into the grate with a clatter and a cloud of dust, making the children jump. When the dust had settled, John put his head up again to see if the chimney was clear. "I say, there's a big space where those bricks fell from," he called to the others, "and I believe I can see something there. Got a torch, Harry?" "Here you are," said Harry, and handed John a small torch. John shone it into the empty space. "It's a box," he said excitedly, "hidden up the chimney, whatever's in it." "Treasure," said Harry and Molly together. "Quick, get it down and we'll see." John managed to get down the box. It was of some kind of metal, but it felt fairly light. The children put it on the windowsill and looked at it. It was locked. "We must break it open," said John. "Gosh, what a find! I bet there's some kind of secret inside." "What shall we break the lock with?" said Harry, red with excitement. "I say, isn't it old and rusty? Whatever was it hidden up the chimney for?" "There's an old broken poker somewhere," said Molly, looking around. "Yes, there it is. John, smash the lock with that." Crash! The poker came down on the box. The rusty lock gave way and the lid hung loose. John opened it. Inside was a roll of thick yellowed paper. John picked it out of the box and smoothed it flat. There was nothing else in the box at all. It's just an old paper, he said, in disappointment. The others bent over it. It's a rough kind of map, said Harry. Look, there are points of the compass shown in that corner. North, south, east and west. And here's what looks like a road. It seems to fork here and there, but one piece is marked very thick in black ink. That road must lead somewhere. Yes, but what road is it? Asked Molly. It's got no name. Here's something written in this corner, said John. It's very faded. Wait a bit. Y-E-W-T-R-E-E. That's what it looks like. The road seems to start from there. Yew Tree, said Molly. Well, this was called Yew Tree Inn, wasn't it? But there's no road at all from here except back to Lanning Village, where we've just come from. Why should anyone make a map of that and hide it? It's not that road, silly, said John. We know it doesn't wind like this and fork here and there, and anyway on this map the road shown runs in the opposite direction. It's strange, said Harry, looking through the window to the north where the road or path on the map was supposed to run. There's not even a footpath there. Listen, there used to be an enormous old tree, a yew, growing at the corner of the inn. Molly said suddenly, It's gone now, but the stump is still there. It grew out of the corner of the stable. I remember Daddy telling me about it. Let's go and look, said John. So out of the old kitchen they went and into the tumble-down stable. Broken mangers were still on the wall. The floor was cobbled. A great heap of straw lay in one corner of a loose box, flattened and brown. Here's the stump of the yew, said John, and he pointed to a rotting stump at one end. Look, they had to make the wall bend in just here, so as not to spoil the tree. The stump was by the old heap of straw. John kicked some of the straw away, and then saw something odd. I say, look, the floor isn't cobbled here. There's a wooden trapdoor. Do you suppose the road marked on that old map goes underground? Could it be a smuggler's way to somewhere? Heave up the trapdoor, cried Harry. We'll soon see. The trapdoor had an iron handle let into it. John tried to pull it to open the trapdoor, but it wouldn't budge. I've got a rope, said Harry, who always carried extraordinary things about with him, just in case they were needed. He undid a rope from round his waist. He slipped it double through the iron ring and threw the two ends over the low wall between the loose boxes. Then the children could pull on it together. Now heave-ho, yelled Harry, and they pulled hard. The trapdoor came up so suddenly that all three of them sat down hard and lost their breath. John was up first. He peered down into the space uncovered by the trapdoor. Steps down, he cried. Stone steps. I bet this is the entrance to the secret way marked on that map. It runs north on the map, doesn't it? Well, that means we go right into Skytop Hill. It certainly looked as if it did. The steep rocky slope of Skytop Hill rose up directly in front of them, and any underground path must lead into it. How strange! Shall we go down? Asked Molly, feeling scared as she peered down into the darkness. John, do you think it leads to a smuggler's hiding place? Caves or something? You know, where smugglers kept their goods. Perhaps, said John. Of course we're going down, but if you're afraid, Molly, you needn't come." "I'm as brave as you," Molly said crossly. "Of course I'm coming." One by one they went down the stone steps. It was a good thing Harry had a torch. There were 12 steps and then a tunnel, dark, narrow and low in places. "This is the way marked on the map, all right," said John in excitement. "Shine your torch here, Harry. I want to have a look at the map and make sure I know the right direction. We don't want to go wandering off into any of the wrong forks." "I hope we don't get lost," said Molly, suddenly feeling afraid. "Harry, have you got some white chalk? You've usually got your pockets full of everything. We could make white crosses on the wall of the tunnel as we go. Then if we miss our way, we shall be able to find it again by following our chalk marks back to the stable." "Brilliant idea," said Harry, and fished a piece of chalk from his pocket. Then on they went again along the tunnel, Harry marking bold white crosses every now and again. The passage opened out widely after a bit, and here and there other ways ran from it into the hill. "It's absolutely honeycombed with tunnels," said John. "Natural ones too, not hacked out by men. This one looks as if it'll lead right to the very heart of the hill. I say, isn't this exciting?" The 3 children groped their way along the passage by the light of Harry's torch. Sometimes the air smelled horrid. Harry kept on marking the wall with his white crosses as he went, and the children were glad to think they would be able to find their way safely back again if they were lost. The passage kept more or less level. John stopped and looked at the map whenever they came to a fork so that he would know which one to take, the one going to the right or to the left. "We must be getting very deep underground," he said. "The hill must be rising right over us now. We shall soon come under its top." "I bet that's where we find something," said Harry, marking another chalk cross. "I bet that's where the old smugglers hid their goods." "We may find some," Molly said excitedly. "Oh, do come on." Suddenly they came into a place that seemed at first to be a great cave, but daylight shone down into it. The children looked round and then up in amazement. "Why, we're in a sort of deep, deep pit, and that's daylight shining in from the top. There's a hole in the top of Skytop Hill, and it drops right down to where we stand." They were quite right. There was a peculiar opening in the top of Skytop Hill, a shaft that went right down to the heart of it, ending where the children stood, and in the caves round about were many interesting things. "Boxes," said Molly. "Crates. Awfully old they look. I'm sure the smugglers hid their things here." "Look here," said John suddenly, and he pointed to the ground. "A cigarette end and an empty cigarette packet. Now who in the world can have left these here?" It did seem odd to see the cigarette end and packet lying there among all the old boxes and crates. "Who comes here and why?" said Harry, suddenly dropping his voice to a whisper. But before the others could answer, they heard something that made all of them jump violently. They heard a man's whistle, someone whistling a tune. "There's someone coming," said John in a low tone. "Look, from out of that cave over there. Hide, quick. We'll watch what he does." The children crouched behind a big empty crate in the darkness of an overhanging rock. They waited, their hearts beating loudly. A man came into sight, a broad young fellow kicking a stone in front of him as if he were bored. He sat down on a box. The children didn't make a sound. Somehow, they felt that the man wouldn't be at all pleased to know that they were there. They were afraid. He can't be up to any good, thought John. We'd better try and find out what he's doing there. The children crouched silently behind the big crate while keeping their eyes on the man. After a while he left his place and climbed a little way up the side of the pit, where a great rock made a kind of shelf. There he tinkered about with something, for the children could hear metallic sounds. There was evidently some kind of machinery up there. "Molly, Harry, I think that man's a spy or something," John said in a whisper. "If I get a chance, I'm going up onto that ledge to see what he's got there. I can't imagine what it is. If I get caught, you must both go back down the secret passage and tell someone about this and get help." "Oh, John, don't," said Molly, scared. "Don't climb up to that ledge." "Shh," said John as the man climbed down again. He disappeared into a cave. "Now's my chance," said John, and darted out from his hiding place. He climbed quickly to the ledge and stared in surprise. A strange kind of lantern or lamp was there, its face tilted upwards to the sky far above. "What's it for?" wondered John, and then he heard a warning whistle from Harry. The man was coming again. John tried to scramble down, but he was too late. The man saw him, made a dart at him and caught him. He shook him so fiercely that poor John thought his teeth would fall out. "What are you doing here? You'll be sorry for yourself soon," said the man, and flung John into a small cave. He moved a great crate in front of it. "You'll see what happens to nasty little boys who snoop around. Have you done anything to that lamp up there?" The man climbed up to see. Harry ran to free John, but there was no time. "Go for help, idiot," said John. "Quick, before he sees you." Harry and Molly fled into the secret passage without being seen. How glad they were to know that they had the white chalk marks to follow. John was left behind. The day went slowly by. He was hungry and thirsty, but the man gave him nothing to eat or drink. And then at night, when it was quite dark, a strange and powerful glow gradually filled the shaft, coming into the cave where John was a prisoner. And at the same time there came the drone of an aeroplane engine overhead. "That glow is from the lamp on the ledge halfway down the pit," said John to himself, filled with excitement. "It can only be seen by anyone flying directly overhead. It's a signal of some sort. What a clever idea. Yes, that man is signalling with the lamp. The light keeps going on and off." The aeroplane droned overhead for a little while and then made off. The red glow died away. Darkness came again, and poor John trembled in his gloomy prison. If only the others would come. What had happened to the other two? They had hurried away down the dark secret passage by the light of Harry's torch. Harry held the torch and Molly followed close at his heels. And then they suddenly lost their way. They took the wrong turn, and when they tried to make their way back, they found they were lost. "I thought we were following your chalk marks on the wall," said Molly, almost in tears. "How did we miss the way?" Both children were frightened. They sat down to have a rest and to work out which way to go. At last they set out again, and after a long time, to their great delight, they came across Harry's chalk crosses on the wall. Now, for goodness sake, don't let's lose them again, said Molly. It's getting so late, and I'm starving hungry. It will be dark before we get home. It was almost dark when the two children staggered in at the back door, and Molly called loudly for her mother. Very soon she had told her extraordinary happenings of the day. I'll ring up the police, said Mrs. Johnson, who was astonished and worried. This is serious. We must certainly rescue poor John. Soon the police came in a big car, and off they all went to the old ruined inn. We'd better get to the pit by way of the underground passage, said the inspector. Something funny is going on inside Skytop Hill. They all crept as silently as possible down the secret passage. When they came to the part that opened into the pit, they stopped in wonder, for a strange red glow lay all around. It was the glow cast by the powerful lamp hidden inside the hill. Its light shone up and could be seen by the aeroplane which was even then droning overhead. But nothing could be seen of the glowing lamp by any watcher out in the countryside. A very clever idea, said the inspector under his breath. A fine way of signalling. We've often wondered how it was done. Well, you children have done a splendid job of work for us today. Then the inspector and his men took charge of affairs, and things began to happen. The men by the lamp were captured. Other men, hidden in comfortable caves, were rooted out and taken prisoner. A radio transmitter and receiver was found that could send and take messages, and these had been flashed to the aeroplane that came twice a week to fly over Skytop Hill. It was a very clever idea. Nice little nest of spies, the inspector said. Grimly, well, that aeroplane will have a bad time over here next time it comes. Come along, children, you've had enough excitement for one day. What an exciting adventure, said John, happily, as they went to bed that night. We never guessed that anything like that would happen when we went to look at the ruin at the foot of Skytop Hill. That's the end of that story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join me again soon for another video. Bye.